strong, defend the shield, always for the black and gold. We go the extra mile, we never yield, marching to victory we roll, because we are the village school. Knights for life, defend the shield. We are the knights of the village school, our hearts are fierce and bold. Work hard, play strong, defend the shield, always for the black and gold. We go the extra mile, we never yield, marching to victory we rule, because we are the village school. Knights for life, defend the shield.
Well, good evening and welcome back to Leading from Lanai. I'm your host, Dennis Chapman, head of school of the Village School of Naples, and it's my privilege to be with you here again tonight. We're about to start week 8 of distance learning and working from home, and we are down to the final month of school. My prayer for you is for continued strength and endurance as we wind down this school year in such a unique fashion. This week is also Teacher Appreciation Week. So I am sure those of you that are parents, appreciate our teachers even more now that you've been assisting with the distance learning process from home with your children. But we've been staying very, very busy here at the Village School. So this past week, we continued with our nightly bedtime stories. So those are on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 7:30. There was also this week a Q&A with Dr. Will Eyerly, who you're going to see here in a moment, as he'll be taking on the role of interim head of upper school. So that recording is available on our website as well. And it was TVS Virtual Spirit Week. So we had a lot of fun there all week long with in various ways. So lots of great photos that were on our social media. This coming week, 2 really exciting events to happen here. Tuesday is our senior caravan. So we are going to deliver some special treats to our seniors. Don't want to give too much away. But one of the things we're going to be giving them is the date for the in-person commencement. So I'm excited for that. I know that they're going to be really excited to find out when that's going to be this year. And then on Friday is our Vespa parade to honor our teachers. So we hope that you come out. If you have multiple children, you can pick one of these spots, but we're trying to stagger it so we don't back up Goodluck Frank. So 8:30 preschool, 8:45 lower school, 9 o'clock middle school, and 9:15 upper school. And then we hope last coming through will be our seniors. So should be a lot of fun. I hope that you can come out there and enjoy it with us. Looking ahead further into May, we have some transition meetings that'll be happening via Zoom. So for preschool through kindergarten, that'll take place on Tuesday, May 12th from 7 to 8. And then for 5th grade to middle school, that's Wednesday, May 13th, 7 to 8. And then for 8th grade to upper school, Thursday, May 14th. So I hope that you make plans, if that is applicable to you, to join us for those times together. So tonight's episode, it's all about the arts. And we have our members of our awesome arts department with us tonight. And I can't wait to talk to them. You know, yesterday was supposed to be our inaugural Arts Day. And this is something that I had a vision for, really just kind of blowing the top off of it this year. I've seen this done at actually every school I've been at has had an Arts Day where basically what we had planned were performances throughout the day, visual arts, culinary arts, really just a huge highlight of all that we're doing. So in lieu of that, we are posting clips on our Facebook page, so please check that out. Hopefully you have had a chance to. There'll be more to come. And then when we push this video out, we'll put some links in there for those of you that aren't on Facebook so that you can see all the amazing things that are happening in our arts department. They're continuing to do a great job despite these circumstances, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. So with that, let me go ahead and start bringing in a couple of our friends onto the Lanai. So first we have Miss Debbie Martin. Hello, Mrs. Martin. How are you?
Hello.
So I understand today's a special day for you. So
It is
your anniversary.
Yes, it is. And here I am.
And here you are. Talk about dedication to the Village School. So how many years are we now? You and Brian?
40.
40 years, so it's a milestone anniversary nonetheless. Oh my goodness. Well,
It is.
well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Absolutely. Debbie, why don't you talk to the audience a little bit, tell them a little bit about your background and your role with the school.
Okay, I am director of the arts program, which is a wonderful position and lots of fun because nothing is ever the same. We're constantly creating, and something like what has happened makes us create in a different way. Also, I will start my 13th year at the school, and I am definitely involved in all aspects of the arts program. We were thrilled to bring culinary on board. We have a great arts team, the music, the theater. We've all done extremely well in bringing the arts to the school. My college that I go back to, I know a lot of seniors, if any of you are listening, is University of Michigan. So go blue. I know no one's not going there, but University of Michigan, where I did 2 degrees there, and then I also studied in Europe for a while. So I was very involved in church work, and also actually when I was at Michigan, I had a chorus of 60 kids that would come on Wednesday, and they would sing 3-part harmony.
Wow.
So I started with that. I didn't realize that's like something you try to have after a few years. I started with that, and that's really raised the bar for me. But
Absolutely.
I'm so glad to be at the Village School.
Well, we're so glad that you are at the Village School, and you've done such an amazing job really putting the arts, in place and on the map, and putting us on the map with the arts department. So appreciate all that you continue to do for the Village School. Next up, we have the newly appointed interim of our head of upper school for next year, Dr. Will Eyerly. Hello, Dr. Will.
Hi, Dennis. Congratulations, Debbie. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Yes. So Dr. Will, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have, I want to speak specifically tonight more of the arts because that's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating the arts. So my background in the arts is most of my adult life. I've been a professional actor, playwright, and director in various regional and international settings. I taught at a theater school in Korea, as a matter of fact, in South Korea for a summer, and ran programs there and coordinated it and still have connections there. Penland School of the Arts in North Carolina, as well as a lot in Gainesville, Florida, both with doing some adjunct work with Santa Fe Community College, which is now Santa Fe College, as we all the community colleges are no longer community college, but it was a community college when I did it, and also a little bit at University of Florida, and then spent 10 years as the performing arts director at Oak Hall School in Gainesville, Florida, before moving to Southwest Florida, and then where I was 3 years the director of the arts pre-K through 12 at Canterbury School, as well as their academic dean. And then I was fortunate enough to have this opportunity from Debbie that I saw this tremendous STEAM education program that the Village School was building, or is building, and continues to build, and met Debbie, and I found a kindred spirit. And so here I am at the Village School, about to enter my 2nd year, and about to have a little bit more on my plate too.
Yes,
So,
just a little bit. Well, I just want to commend both of you, just the way that you've been able to work together. Coming in, Will, of having actually, had the same position as Debbie, that could have been a big challenge, but you guys have made perfect harmony together, which is great, though. So no, I really appreciate you, Will. I'm so glad that you're part of our team, and I look forward to our continued work together. And then finally,
honor.
yes, absolutely. And finally, we have Mrs. D. Andrea DeLadurantey. Is that guy said that? Oh, I know. Yes.
Good job.
Rolls right off the tongue. Yes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Congratulations, Debbie. And I don't like following both of these people right now, Mr. Chapman. All those wonderful things. Oh.
You have lots of wonderful things to talk about too, Mrs. D.
All right. So let's see. Born and raised in Naples, actually grew up in the church, North Naples Church. And when the Village School opened, I had graduated from Florida State. Go Noles. Will, you went to UF for a time. And
you do see the University of Miami behind my head, right?
oh, I know. Yes, I have to.
Okay, I'm just saying, you know.
So I actually taught music at the Village School for a bit, and then went back to Florida State so that Mr. D could get his master's, and then came back, and I was in the public school system teaching music. I taught kinder music, and then I took some time off to have my kids, and then Steve called me, my husband, from work when he's the director of music at the church, and he called and said, "You're about to get a phone call from Debbie Martin. You need to just say yes." And I said, "Okay, well, what's it about? Just say yes." And so Debbie gets on the phone and said, "We have a position open for, be music teacher." And I said, "Well, I'm supposed to say yes." And of course, I went and met with her, and we talked, and I, of course, want to come back to my home. The church is my home, and the school is my home. And so I'm very blessed to be part of the Village School. And I teach junior kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. And I love it. And I lead chapel. And it's just a blessing to be there.
Well, you're a blessing to all of us. And we're glad that you said yes.
Yes.
And
how can you say no to Mrs. Martin?
She's very hard to say no to. That's a very good point. Very convincing. And I think that's how she's been able to build such an awesome arts team.
Yes.
So let's get into this a little bit here. Obviously, we are now, week 8, going into week 8 of this, and we're in the dog days of May, if you will, of the school year, and which are always very kind of grueling in of itself. But this thing has gone on for so much longer than we anticipated. And so, as you know from being in our Tuesday faculty meetings, I like to ask this question. So I'll ask each of you, how are you feeling? How are you feeling with all this? So Dr. Will, we'll start with you. How are you feeling?
The word that keeps coming to me is, and it's maybe a little bit redundant, but incredibly blessed. Blessed by this community, blessed by our administration, blessed by a tremendous faculty, and especially blessed by amazing students that have just picked up the ball and run with it. They make my job easy every day. And so my prayers are getting longer and longer every night as I count these many blessings, because it's been, when you head into this, we thought it was going to be maybe 2 weeks, and and you prepare for one way, you prepare for all the scenarios, you prepare for any possible scenarios that are going to come, and just really the kids have been the inspiration and the blessing, and the families, and it's just been top to bottom, and so I'm just really, really blessed.
That's awesome perspective. How about you, Mrs. Martin? How are you feeling?
Well, when this all started, I really missed everybody popping into my office and saying, "Okay, what's the idea today?" Or "What are we going to do today?" Or "What's on the agenda?" And I thought, "God, how are we going to do this?" But the word for me right now is I am extremely grateful. I'm grateful to all of you, the rest of our staff, to the school. I mean, for us to have done what we did is absolutely incredible. And for us to care for the kids as much as we do, I just can't even put a word onto that. God always says to be content in whatever situation you're in. Well, I'm not the best follower of that by any means, but through this whole time and working, with the staff that I work with, I'm just extremely grateful. So that's my word.
Awesome. How about you, Mrs. D? Blessed and grateful.
Blessed and grateful. Can I just piggyback and steal
that?
I will admit, I was at the beginning. It was sad. I went through some sad times. I think all of us did. I was one of those that popped into Debbie's office every day, multiple times, and I missed that. I missed my students, and we'll talk more about that later, of course. But I was sad, and then trying to get in the groove of all of this, and now I think I am feeling happier. I am excited now that I've kind of found my niche with the virtual classes, and I get to see my students face to face that way. And again, blessed and grateful. Those are perfect words, because we are blessed to be a part of this school. And we hit the ground running so fast. And I think because of that, we hit the ground running, and we wanted to give it all, like everything we had. And we might have overwhelmed ourselves a bit, and probably the students in the process. And I think now we're able to kind of step back a little bit, and it's all just kind of become a nice balance, and it's smooth. And I just think that, you know, under your leadership too, it's just really been a nice transition for all of us. And so I'm happy. And that's my word. Happy, grateful, blessed.
Happy, grateful, blessed. I like it. Well, thank you for the kind words. We've got an awesome team. You know, I focus on the C's. I like to talk about, you know, with our communication, about community, calm, right? Like communicate the facts, not fear, you know, all that kind of thing. And compassion. You know, I think that's part of it too, is we did come out of the gate so quickly. It was design thinking in action, you know, as we're trying things and iterating and tweaking and trying to find that sweet spot. And I feel like we found that. You know, certainly at this stage in the game. And that really is a credit to our faculty, to all of you, and your just ability to be able to pivot in such a quick way. It's just pretty remarkable to think about. And so with that, you know, as we talk a little bit about, you know, how are we keeping the arts going? You know, I would think that would be challenging, but, you know, with you all, I'm probably wrong. It probably is not as challenging as I think it might be. So what are some of the ways we're doing that? Mrs. Martin, what about you? How are we doing this in the arts department?
Well, we have definitely raised the bar for ourselves. We didn't mean to, but we did. And that's probably because we're all A personalities. It's also because we want the parents to believe in us and to know that maybe our field is a little more difficult, but we wanted the kids to know that we are really doing a super job. So we've created a lot of videos that you'll be seeing. And, you know, that's something that was new to some of us. I mean, I would call every so often and say, what the heck am I doing with this? I can't figure it out at all. Of course, we'd laugh. And then we would try to figure it out. So there will be a lot of videos coming out. What some of the teachers did who do teach privately, and two of our students, we made a longer video of just music to listen to, you know, maybe when you're having a glass of wine or iced tea, whatever, coffee. And it's just really good music. And it ends with one of our students, Preston Beckner, a little interview with him. So I really like that one. And I should say this too, I have to do the shout out to the rest of the team. I mean, we have the visual arts, which is Arlen, Karen Shaw, and Erica. Absolutely fantastic. Chef Stephen, you know, what he's doing online, fantastic. You want to eat that food. Sean Staliker with steel drums. And AP Theory, Dr. Jeff Lee with AP Theory. And then, of course, all of our private teachers that are still happening. We do our lessons on FaceTime, and we're able to do that. So we've just, you know, move forward. And that's, if there's something that I like to live by, it's always move forward. We can't change what we have, but we can certainly decide to either go forward or to go backwards. And this team I didn't even have to talk to them. I knew they would move forward. And then we also have Tony Yenshaw, who puts up with all of our questions and how do we do things. And then Mr. Glenn, who helped me specifically. I mean, an incredible staff. I just cannot say that enough, but we raised the bar. And so our product is extremely good with what we're doing. And your kids are still learning so much.
Yes. Well, you guys haven't missed a beat, but And
where's that drum?
I know. Exactly. No, but you really haven't. I've loved watching the videos. I'm so glad we're sharing them on social media of the kids still learning in this environment, just through FaceTime. And it's been great how it really has transitioned so smoothly. And that's really a credit to you, Debbie, and your team here that made that, and all the folks that you mentioned. So, Mrs. D, what are some of the ways in your world, in your realm, are you keeping the arts going?
Well, I like to think that there's more music happening now in the homes of our kids. because, every week they have a music lesson. I'm recording my own lessons at home. And so they're able to watch that. And then I'm giving them different projects. Create your own instrument. And then they have to videotape them playing it, send it back. And some of them have been really creative. It's been pretty awesome to see. They had to research it. What instrument family does it belong in? And then they made their own. We have some that made their own dance videos because I had a lesson about movement and it associated with a book, and they had to tell me something that they can do now, something they can't do just yet, but they will try to do. And then they had to show me their favorite dance move. And some of them did these amazing dances and songs, and they posted those. And then one of my favorites has been the rhythm, because we've had so many kids at home with their siblings. And so I provided a rhythm exercise, and they had to videotape themselves using foods that go along with the eighth notes and the quarter notes, 16th notes, and so on. And actually, your kids participated in that too. And Charlie was the leader, and she led, and then Cooper echoed. And I had a lot of siblings doing that and working together. The older ones would help the younger ones, and they sent that on to me. And so I like to think that there's more music happening at home, and they're able to explore that more. And then, of course, with the singing. So that was the struggle, was how do we sing together? Because we did that all the time. And so obviously on on Zoom classes and then the Google Hangouts, it's a little bit more difficult, but we are working on that. And they are creating virtual ensembles. And so virtual recorder ensembles, and that's still a work in progress. The fifth grade is going to be doing a virtual chorus to the song Look Up Child that they're going to debut in the chapel coming up. The chorale is doing a virtual chorus for the song Blackbird, they were supposed to perform that during our Arts Day. And so now it's going to be a virtual chorus. And so they're really kind of tapping into technology that way too. And we're able to still share the love of music together, even though we are far apart. And so that's how I've been kind of pushing forward with this.
No, and those videos are so great. I hope folks watch them too. I mean, I love the homemade drum set that Kane had. I mean, how great is that? And I know our kids are they had fun with the following along. I watched that video as well. You're really doing an awesome job of being able to keep it going. And you're right, a lot of music's happening at home. I know there's a lot happening at my home. I'm taking guitar lessons. So the awesome Mr. Derek has been teaching me. And so my kids have really enjoyed that. I actually played all day yesterday. I literally I was going to play for 5 minutes. I played until about 8 o'clock last night. And the kids are like, "Are you really still playing the guitar, Dad?" I'm like, "Yes." So come along with me. But so a lot of music's happening.
There you go.
I was not going to bring that up, but I think we should have heard Mr. Chapman play tonight. Don't you all?
Yes.
Maybe a future one. We'll do that. I'm not quite ready for prime time yet, Debbie, but we'll get there. But what about you, Dr. Will? How are things in the theater arts program?
Well, I'll kind of break it down a little bit by grade level, since I crossed 3 divisions, or by division. So in lower school, I have the 5th graders, and I've got 34 of those 5th graders that I see every other week, and on Wednesdays. Started out with an asynchronous assignment for them on the first 2 weeks, not knowing how long this was going to go on. Basically, having them write an essay describing their favorite improv game from the past year. What was their favorite game and why? And they all did such a great job writing. I was really impressed, but we must have some great writing teachers and language arts teachers in the lower school. And they did such a great job with those essays. And so that gave me some ideas springboarding when I said, okay, now we're going to have live meetings because this is going on longer. And so it allowed me to pick games that I could adapt based on their favorites for their online work when we meet online. So we do online improv, and they love it. They all tune in, and we have a ball. It's kind of chaotic, but it's so much fun. There's a method to the madness. And then they also produced some videos of their own. They had one of their assignments was to do a live report from their home of how things were going in their isolation, and and they could make them funny. My instruction was make it funny, make it humorous. So one student interviewed toilet paper and things like that.
Very popular, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Toilet
pets were
paper, yes.
interviewed. I love the pet interviews. Those were funny too. And I sent a couple of those to Miss Martin, so they'll probably be popping up on social media as well. So that's what the fifth grade has been doing. And we have another a live meeting this week, so I'm looking forward to that, the new game. Middle school, we've been very active. We did a project called Middle School Monologue Madness. And every middle school student had to write an original monologue of at least 1 minute. And then they had to decide how they were going to costume it, what their point of view was for the monologue, and film it. And then they would send it back and forth, and I could critique it and then send it back to them until they got it the way they wanted. And then so I sent the first produced videos of those. And a shout out to our art teachers, because so many great students in the middle school also take visual arts. So they decided that they would design their own title boards. So the title board for the video, for the title Middle School Monologue Madness, the titles boards between each monologue are all designed and created by the middle schoolers as well. And so you'll be seeing that out there. We also did a middle school TikTok account, and they've uploaded 2 videos. One was the Friends theme, where you get to see them all in the Friends, like the Friends intro, and they're doing their things at home. Some playing violin, painting, different things like that. But they also there's an app now on TikTok that expanded their Duet app, so you can actually do small group musical numbers where you're having them harmonizing and things. So it removes the problem of the time lag. So we were able to do but the only thing is the time limit's 1 minute. So you have to find a cut of 1 minute. So we did Dear Evan Hansen, a song from Dear Evan Hansen, and we picked the section of the song. We had a couple of meetings online and picked the song, had a check-in with how the harmonies were going, and then the kids sent it to me the first time. I sent it back and said, the balance was a little off here and there, and then they did it. And that's another one of the videos that you'll be able to check out online on Facebook, and probably a link to this as well. And then with the upper school, same thing. We did a TikTok account there. They've done 2 things. They did a coronavirus theme. That was the first thing they put out, where they wrote their own coronavirus song. They did the lyrics from a Backstreet Boys tune. That way, I did, only with the coronavirus, social distancing's the way, instead of, I need it that way. So it was fun. And then they did, they also did a introduction one with Full House video. So they did the Full House theme, and you get to see all of them painting and playing guitar, playing ukulele, doing a lot of different things that they're doing on their own, and see a different side of them. And dropping probably within a week is our original 1-act, fully produced show that I wrote. And then the kids, there's 12 musical numbers in it as well that the kids have selected from different Broadway shows. And at Miss Martin's suggestion, I wrote in there in the show where we kind of have a little treasure hunt of Broadway theaters. So wherever the song was, there's actually a mention or a reference to the actual Broadway theater where that show was being produced before the shutdown occurred. So it's a little kind of trivia, Broadway trivia in there. And it's called the Great Broadway Toilet Paper Caper. And it's quite interesting story, and you get to see all the kids in both theater classes involved in it. And they're also involved in the editing and production. So a lot of work being churned out over there.
Absolutely. Well, I would say you definitely, all 3 of you are keeping the arts going. It sounds like a lot is happening. The TikTok's interesting too. So we're starting a school TikTok account. So be on the lookout for that. There's a guest appearance by someone that may look familiar on that first one. So we'll leave it at that. But a lot going on for sure. So with that, obviously it's still a bit of a challenge to try to do this. And so how have what's been the most challenging part for distance learning beyond that we obviously aren't together face to face, but Mrs. Steve, what's been the most challenging part for you?
Well, first of all, I am not a tech savvy person. And so that has been something that I've had to kind of figure out. So that's been a challenge for me. Obviously, not being able to be with the students and sing together with them. I think the biggest thing for me is I miss the hugs. I just miss those hugs. I miss the good morning, Mrs. D. How are you today, Mrs. D? I miss the running and the hugs and the singing and the laughter. And so that's been a challenge too, because I'm such a hands-on and I connect with my students. And so that's been a big challenge, is to not be able to create music together live. But I have become more tech savvy to the point where Mrs. Martin even calls me to ask for help, which is huge. And so I feel like I am doing better now with that challenge. And moving forward, now that we know it's going to be a lot longer, I feel more confident that I can continue to be an effective teacher in this environment.
Absolutely. What about you, Dr. Will?
Well, I echo Ms. D, that being with the kids, there's nothing better than that. They just give you so much energy. They give you so much you can, it's incredible what those kids give you when you're all together, and they miss it too. And as this has gone on, they've expressed more and more how they can't wait to get back to normal, whatever normal is in the future. I don't know, but you hear that a lot. I think, finding viable outlets that to overcome some of the challenges of the distance, the lag, and things like that has been definitely a challenge, especially with singing, as Miss Martin mentioned earlier, and Miss D mentioned earlier. That's been a challenge. The limitations of the technology, I guess, is really what I'm trying to say there. And then I think also, because so much was canceled and so much was lost, even, for us in the theater, like shows are lost, music too, shows lost. I can't, and then having a big competition lost for state competition for the upper school. There's a little bit of grieving going on there, I think, for all of us, and so I'm really excited that, we were able to keep Zinc in play for next year and have it in September, and that's going to be ongoing. The kids are excited about that. We had a Zoom rehearsal for that, and that seemed to reinvigorate them and let them know that, hey, someday we will be back, and we're going to be back together. And, I think trying to maintain as much normalcy as possible, that's been the challenge.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely grieving going on too for what was lost. What about you, Mrs. Martin? What's been the most challenging part of distance learning for you?
I think the hardest thing is, and I'm repeating, that time is not the same on the internet. The internet is a wonderful thing, but there's nothing like the live performances, or somebody bopping into your office, a student saying, "I've got a great idea." You miss all that affect and their hearts in that situation. So even, for instance, if you can imagine the steel drums trying to play online, trying to count the same, it's not. It just isn't. And we've had to come up, with other ideas, and we've done that. The teachers have been so creative. Sean's come up with, some beautiful things, but to actually play together, and the high that you get from a performance, a live performance, I feel we're cheating the kids from that. And that's what's so important about the arts, for that. We've done some other things. And in fact, I want to say, for instance, we gave some art awards, and this might be the time to bring this in. Sure. Fifth grade, Mazzy Myers, Pace Phillips. They're our fifth grade award winners. And with middle school, Kylie Hunter, Tia Shundle, Ella Jones, Angelina Insana. We've been able to do more of those type of things, but in the arts, there's, just something about everything being live, and mistakes and all. It just makes, the classes, makes the performances. So we have to figure that out. And as Dr. Will said, the TikTok gives you that, but only for 1 minute. Right. It's hard to put everything in 1 minute.
Yeah, it's tough. That's for sure. Well, you all have done an awesome job, as I've said, and I think what it perhaps has done is it's even forced you to become even more creative, if that was possible, from creative types that you are. But how has distance learning forced you to become even more creative? We'll start with you, Dr. Well, on this one.
Yeah, it's definitely forced me to to look at, well, I've done a lot of online, I said, when as soon as this was going to happen, I reached out to kind of the hive mind, because I'm a member of the Educational Theater Association and the Florida Association of Theater Educators. So both those had seminars for distance learning and how to get this, ideas for improv online and engaging the kids and different apps and things like that were out there. So those have definitely helped me. So really reaching out to my colleagues that I've had over the years in theater, they've been a great support system to where we've all helped each other learn, kind of add to our bag of tricks, so to speak, to keep the kids engaged. It's definitely, as you said, Mr. Chapman, it forced us to be more creative with how we get these kids expressing. But there's been some serendipitous aspects as well where, the kids are much more comfortable about being on camera now. I think this generation will be more comfortable about being on camera than our generation was anyway, because they're on camera so much. But I tell them all the time, I've got drawers of reels from shows, from commercials I've done, from industrial films, things like that. And I have never looked at one of them because I can't stand to watch myself. So these kids are brave. They'll watch it and critique themselves and come back and do it even stronger. So
absolutely. No, that's a good point. That they're certainly learning some new techniques and skills. What about you, Mrs. Martin?
Well, one thing when we have a project, I always think, what are our parameters? For instance, when we do a show, we only have so many nights in the sanctuary. We might only be able to have the mics, whatever. So I'm always thinking, what are the parameters we have to work with? And now how can we be creative? Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that distance learning has done, I think the kids are more creative. We're thinking a little smaller because we think, oh, we can't be on the stage. We can't do this. We can't have the music. The students, they are thinking larger, and it's like, well, why can't we do this? And I think it has to do with what Dr. Will just said, is they are comfortable with all of this. They just think, okay, I'm on the camera. We can do this here. I can dance. They have more freedom to tell us what they can do. And maybe that's just being at home, that they feel, exceptionally creative with what they're doing. Most of them are in their bedrooms, their space, and they let us know how they're feeling. So that lets us even bring out more of the students. And for instance, with private teaching, I know those teachers have said the students are doing much better because they have the time to practice. So just like you, Mr. Chapman, you practiced all day.
I did, yes. 5 minutes turned into 8 hours.
Yeah, they're practicing more at home also, rather than just the time that they're being carted from here to there and trying to eat and whatever else. I think they are more attentive with what we're giving them, but they do feel freer with us to give us their opinions so we can make the projects even better.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Good point. What about you, Mrs. D?
A piggyback on what Mrs. Martin said too about creativity. I was thinking about that my students are more creative, I believe, as well. But I've had to kind of think outside the box with my creativity and how I'm going to teach music, because in my elementary classroom, obviously it's egg shakers and drums, and we have a whole drumming unit, and we're always moving, and we're using different tools and manipulatives and things like that to create rhythm and music notation. And I don't have that here, and I have to remember they don't have that there. And so I did some things recently with some of my life classes, my younger kids, junior kindergarten, kindergarten and first grade, that you probably don't have sticks at your house to keep a steady beat as we're talking about 16th notes and 8th notes, things like that, but you have spoons. So we used spoons, and we did that. And so, and obviously my lessons are allowing them to be more creative at home as well. And then creativity when it comes to what Dr. Will and I are doing, and Mr. Stoliker and things like that with our virtual music and virtual ensembles, and which has forced the children to become more creative. And I like what Mrs. Martin said too. it has allowed them to kind of step outside of their own box, because sometimes in the classroom, when they're with so many people, the nerves set in and they don't want to give as much because others are watching. But when they're by themselves, and some of my students sent in some videos to me, and I was shocked that that child was the one doing all of these fun dance moves and singing, because in the normal classroom, they wouldn't have done that, but they have a different comfort level now, and so they're being more creative. And so.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great, as we like to say in the biz, a segue to the final question, which are final thoughts, silver linings. You hit on a couple right there. This is kids that are really stepping out of their comfort zone. You mentioned it too as well, Mrs. Martin, where they're in their homes, they're in their safe space. They can, perhaps feel a little more comfortable being artistic and creative. But what are some other ways you think, Mrs. Martin, that what are some other silver linings to all of this, in your view?
Was that to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, those silver linings. Yes. I think, number one, as a staff, that we are seeing how the students cross over into so many facets of the arts. We are seeing them in theater. We are seeing them in music. We are seeing them in the visual arts. They need all of that. And for some reason, I guess just being at home and not having to change classrooms or think specifically, this teacher, I've been able to go in and out of classrooms. They see us as a team working together. And so therefore, all of the arts are very, very important to them, and they're drawing on that, or they want to learn, more about dance if they've never danced before, instead of just thinking dance by itself. I mean, Dr. Will had his son, do a dance seminar, workshop the other day, which what a great opportunity. He's on Broadway, and here we have him. So they're able to transfer all of that together. The other thing is that it makes us as teachers really see our STEAM program. We've been able to somehow, over the internet, make it more STEAMy to them. And I've really thought, that's been a highlight for us, that we haven't quite been able to do as well, but somehow, we're able to do it over the internet. And I always think that, again, I'm going to say, one thing God tells us, there's a season for everything. Sometimes I get a little tired of hearing, oh, I don't like this season and I don't like this season. But this season has made us really sit back and think, what do we want to do together? And I know with Dr. Will and his new role, we're going to be able to assimilate a lot more. We need to celebrate more of our students' achievements. I think we go from one thing to the next. And this, even though we're working harder than we do in our classroom, that we go from one production to the next, goal to the next. But we need to just stop and celebrate what they are doing. And somehow we don't do that. I think of our seniors, right now, fortunately, out of the 12, we have a good 4 that have been in the arts for, quite a time, that we've had a chance that's a third. Okay. That's not even a hard math assignment.
STEAM in action.
Yeah. It's like a STEAM thing I'm telling you about. But anyway, it's been fantastic what they're able to do. And there's a couple things that I hope our audience does look out for. One is the video we made. We have Gigi and we have Preston on that video. Lauren and Lucy will be doing some things in the near future. But these are kids that they are able to shine. And I know it's because of the discipline of the arts. We can see that in our teaching, that those who are involved in the arts, they take direction, they know what to do, they know there's rehearsal, they know they have to practice, they know there will be a product with that. And I've been thrilled to see that. And as I said, as a school, we need to even celebrate that more so. So those seniors that are graduating, believe me, we're going to miss you terribly. You've done excellent, outstanding work. And we're proud to see what you're able to do. And music is a gift. It will stay with you forever. And it's the gift that makes people happy. And even if you end up in a business office, you're still able to share those gifts of art with people you come into contact with.
So yeah, that's so true. And they've really set the pace for the arts department. You know, the students you mentioned, I know I hear younger students looking up to them and saying, you know, one day I want to be, you know, one of those kids on stage. And, you know, they've really made a tremendous mark at our school, for sure. What about you, Mrs. D? What are some silver linings to this?
Well, I mentioned some already before, the creativity at home. I think, well, personal silver lining is that we have family breakfast together every morning. And so that's a personal silver lining that we are really enjoying in our house. But I have to say, I was on a fifth grade, I had a fifth grade class a couple weeks ago. And I always start with, okay, you know, everybody tell me, I'm going to call on you and tell me how you're doing today. Tell me one great thing that's happened today. And so I had a couple that, oh, nothing good has happened today. And I said, of course, that's fine. I mentioned a silver lining. What's a silver lining? And one of them popped on and said, Mrs. D, I know that I miss school and I never thought that I would miss school and I am looking forward to going back. And so I think a silver lining for our students too is the appreciation. They appreciate school more. I know that I get goosebumps right now, but I appreciate my job. I've always loved my job, but I appreciate it so much more than I did. And I appreciate my students and I appreciate our school and all the staff. And I think that one of the big silver linings is just we have a deeper appreciation for what we have and the blessing that we have at our school and with our students. So
very true. Yeah. That reunion when we all are able to get back together is going to be pretty remarkable.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome. So,
yes.
Dr. Will, some silver linings.
Yeah, I echo what Debbie and Mrs. D said. All those are, and I think only thing I would maybe add to that is, you know, we talk about technology in the classroom all the time and integrating technology into their classroom. And a lot of times, I think arts probably does that kicking and screaming in some ways. So this has been definitely, you know, really forced us to think more creatively and more deliberately about integrating technology into our lessons and into our planning. And I think that'll only serve us and make us better when we get back into the classroom with our kids. We'll be able to continue to use these mediums and these apps and these the technology that we've discovered in this time to make them better performers, both live and on recording. And I think the other thing is that the kids are going to become better independent learners. There's no doubt to me. I'm already seeing it. They were a little tentative first couple weeks, but now I'm just seeing them just explode as independent learners. And I think, you know, a lot of times I know how important collaboration is, and I'm in the ultimate collaborative art, in my opinion, in theater. So the collaboration is really important, and it's kind of the buzzword of the 21st century. And you know, creativity is the capital of the 21st century. But when you start talking about time to reflect and to be on your own and to, you know, kind of assimilate that learning that you've done all together, those times are important too. And I think we're finding that out, that just how important that is.
Oh, so true. Yeah, it's amazing to watch how independent the learners are their students are becoming as independent learners. I can see with my own kids, and certainly with others too. And it's very easy to see on all the great videos that you all put together. So, well, awesome. Well, Mrs. Martin, Mrs. D, Dr. Will, thank you for spending your Sunday night on the Lanai with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So Arts Day, we can't wait for next year when we can do that in person. It's going to be awesome. So start thinking about attending. I know it's a Saturday, but what a great way. We think about the weather we would have had if it were yesterday. It was such a beautiful day too. So next Sunday, we'll have a special Mother's Day edition of Leading from the Lanai. We're going to highlight our friends from Vespa, so Jody Montgomery, Sarah Germain, Brooke Chapman, and our Director of Development, Jane Badger, will be my guests as we'll talk about all things Parent Association and the great week that we had of Teacher Appreciation, culminating on our Friday parade, and then all about the plans that we'll look for next year. But until then, I'm your head of school, Dennis Chapman, and I am asking you to wash your hands, practice social distancing, but more important, show grace and compassion to those around you. Nights for life.